Hello and welcome to the Gary Dunn Show. My name is Gary Smith, and on today's show we're going to talk with Coach Dunn about this past weekend's action in Greensburg, and then we'll break down everything going around in the PSAC, and then we'll look ahead to this upcoming week's opponent, the Slippery Rock Rock. And Coach, said it last week, got a nickname for the team, the Cardiac Cow, and it stays in effect this week, but main thing, got the W.
Yeah, got to play 4 quarters, and really proud of the way the guys battled. You know, that's a tough place to play. Got to give their coaching staff a ton of credit and their players a ton of credit. They played well, but we did what we had to do. We keep battling, we keep scratching. We talked to our guys about playing 60 minutes, and we needed all of them again this week, but you know, that's part of it. Life on the road in the PSAC, you know, 5 of 6 games on the road has been a tough test this season, but to go up there and it's like that every time we play up there. It's you know, 2 years ago when we went up there, I think it was 21-0. They come back and it was 20-0. They come back, it's 20-14, and they got the ball with a chance to score. So, you know, we understand we're going to be in a battle every week. We're a big game for most teams, so we got to play well. But proud of the efforts and you know, the guys sticking together and playing sound football.
And definitely, you just said it, put the nail on the head. I mean, when the schedule comes out, every team's putting Cal in a circle, and that's a testament to the program that you've built here. And, you know, coming into that game on Saturday, we got there to Greensburg, October. It felt like, you know, this is football season. This is going to be a big conference game. It was the last game of the day in the PSAC. And you just had that feeling that it was going to be a back-and-forth game. And like you said, it's, for whatever reason, you know, the games in Greensburg are always tough. And we'll start breaking down the game a little bit. And we talked in our preview last week. You brought up how like their defense had some active guys, and boy, they showed it. It was really a game where the front seven on both sides just really dominated on both sides of the ball for both teams.
Yeah, they play a different defense than anybody, and it's really hard, you know, week to week when you're preparing against defenses. There's a lot of carryover. There's absolutely zero carryover when you go and play Seton Hill. You know, something that we may have ran a few weeks ago against Gannon. You know, we're going to run that against Clarion the following week. And when you go to Seton Hill, you got to throw all your rolls out. You basically got to start from scratch on Monday in preparing an offensive game plan. You know, the thing about it is they'll give you some big plays if you can find them, but you got to find them. I thought early we gave up a little bit of pressure, and they bring blitzes from everywhere. Once we settled in offensively after the first quarter, I thought we played a pretty clean game. But you've got to be detailed, and I don't know that we were in the first quarter. And give them credit, they made plays, but they play a different defense than anybody, so it was tough. But I was proud of the way our defense responded. You know, coming out, it was kind of a punt fest in the first quarter, but our defense was playing really well. Now, we gave up a couple big plays that we talked about yesterday as a staff. We're going to discuss this afternoon with our players, but overall, you know, I thought the defense played really well. So just you look at it week to week, you know, that's the sign of a good team to me. You know, I thought at Clarion the offense had to battle and kind of, you know, hold the defense up a little bit. And I told them last week, you know, there's going to be a game where our defense is going to have to shine and make plays until our offense gets going, and that was this week. So really proud of the way our defense came back and played.
And one of the things we've talked about the last couple of years on the show is the fact that, I mean, I think you and your staff do a great job of adjusting during the game. And like you said, on both sides of the ball, you know, things were, you know, it was a back-and-forth game, but you could tell during the game the adjustments you were making offensively that led, and we'll talk about a little bit more, but towards the end of the first half started getting a foothold, and then second half you could see things happening. Same thing on defense. Gave up a couple plays, made some adjustments, and then, you know, the second half, even though it came down to the wire, a little foreshadowing, as a fan, kind of felt that we were in control, even though maybe not on the scoreboard, but just seeing what you're seeing, how things have been adjusted and that kind of thing. I thought it was a really good job by your coaching staff.
I'll start on the offense. I thought they broke some tendencies. You know, some of the things that we had planned to do, they had changed up how they were going to defend it. And I thought our offensive staff and Coach Salisbury and Coach McLean and Coach Mitchell adjusted to what they were doing. And I thought they did a really good job of kind of nailing, okay, this is how they showed it on film all year. This is how they played us last year. This is what they're doing to change. They were still playing man coverage, but they were dropping 2 backers into zones that we like to throw the football. So, you know, Coach Mitchell did a good job on that from the press box, and Coach Salisbury was able to scheme some things up. You know, they had played motion one way and kind of spun their safety, and they stopped doing that against us. So now they were just bumping. So we had to adjust to that. So I do agree offensively we made some adjustments. Defensively, it was at halftime about shoring up the run in one of their sets, which I thought we did. We had a couple mental errors on defense that gave a couple big plays, and we missed a couple tackles. That's football. That's going to happen. But I was proud of the way that our kids battled.
Well, going into the actual nuts and bolts of the game, first quarter, like you said, punt fest, defense, both teams really just, it was a slobber knocker kind of game. End of the first half, your team's driving. They give you 30 minutes a half for a reason, and your team took all 30 minutes. Just a heck of a play with 9 seconds left to go to get a touchdown. Well, back up a little bit. That drive was really good. Again,
Yep.
Your team is really good about taking that last possession, at least at the very least trying to get that last possession. And if you score or don't score, there's not going to be another possession for the other team. But this time there was triple zeros on the clock when the touchdown
Not
happened.
the way you draw that one up. We had called a play that we worked versus man coverage. In that situation, we expected them to be in man coverage, and tip your hat to Seton Hill's defensive coordinator. They played zone, so we got off schedule. And, we got to do a better job of coaching it and teaching situational football. I'm not happy that we threw. I'm happy that we threw a touchdown pass with 0 seconds left. But there, we got to be smart and get rid of the football and at least send Anthony out there and take a field goal because it could have ended bad where we don't score and now we're out of time. So we got to play that a little bit better. But that was a good drive. So we go into the half up 14-7, and never felt like the entire game. We never lost the lead, which was good. They tied it a couple times and give their guys credit for responding, but it was never panic mode on our sideline. It was like, all right, let's get to the next drive, let's get to the next play. We're going to make a play. So we go up 14-7 at halftime.
And then you come out of the second half, and again, same thing. Both teams going back and forth, but we always talk about offense and defense. But there was a play in the game, special teams. You guys were backed up a little bit, and Clayton Rosenstiel just hit a punt that flipped the field position, and I think flipped momentum right there.
Yeah, Clayton did an unbelievable job. Averaged over 48 yards a kick, flipped the field, kicked it out of his own end zone a couple times to flip the field. I thought our cover team covered really well. So that was a huge part. We put an emphasis on special teams, and I think that was a huge part in the game. But their punter was doing a great job too. It was like NFL style punts on Saturday. Their kid boomed a couple too, and kind of kicked it away from our returner where they got some roll. So it was back and forth in the punt game.
And then later on in the game, Seton Hill scores, long drive, they score tied up, and then, I think on the broadcast, Arnold said, who needs a long drive? Just a heck of a go route to Eric Willis for, I think it was like a 65, 70-yard touchdown, maybe 74 yards. I'm not good at math. This is not a surprise, but just a beautiful play to get, they had momentum, but it just kind of seemed like it sucked all the air out of that stadium.
Yeah, 75 yards. It was but that's that defense. You're going to be able to make some big plays on. I thought we left a couple out there, but Eric got behind the corner, and when you're playing one high and blitzing and playing man coverage, then you got to rely on your corner to cover those guys. And Eric, got off the ball really well, got a clean release, and Davis put the ball right on the money. It was actually, in my opinion, defensive holding that they didn't call. I'm wondering sometimes if we don't catch that, does the flag come out late? Sometimes they'll do that, but man, that was a big boost for us, and now we're up 21-14.
And then we move into the fourth quarter. Again, close game. Seton Hill has a chance to maybe score later in the fourth quarter. Defense does a great job of getting the ball back, stopping them, and then your offense once again, with the game of the balance, drives down the field and scores a touchdown with 14 seconds.
Yeah, that was a huge drive. I think we got the ball. We fair caught the ball on the 9-yard line, so we had to go. Well, my math isn't great either. 91 yards.
91.
And I think there was just about 7 minutes left on the clock, and we took all but 14 seconds off that drive. We converted a big third down to DeMont Martin. Davis put the ball right on the money. DeMont ran a great route. We got the run game going a little bit with some of the adjustments that we had talked about earlier. So we get down in the red zone, and me and Coach Salisbury are on the headsets talking. He says, "Where do I need to get?" And we were at a 47-yard field goal, and I feel good with Anthony at 47. I said, "We're in field goal range right now." I said, "But I would like to make it a little closer." So we ran the ball, got some positive yards. I think we ran it again. We quarterback sneaked for a first down, and we got down to the 20-yard line. And I said, all right, I feel good about this. So they were calling their timeouts to obviously try and get the ball back. If we do kick a field goal, they were calling their timeouts to obviously have time. So we lined up in a formation that we hadn't been in most, and we may have ran it one time the entire day. It was one of the adjustments that Coach McLean and Coach Salisbury had talked about. and we were going to run that play, and then we were going to center the ball and kick the field goal. We had one more timeout. I was going to, we're going to run that play. We had 2 timeouts at the time. We're going to run this play. I'm going to call timeout. We're going to run another play to center the football, and we're going to call another timeout. And our offensive line did a great job. Bobby Boyd made the right read, pressed it the right way. But the most important thing on that was our receivers, all 3 of them. We were in a tight end trip set. All 3 of them were blocking their butts off, and that's how Bobby sprung out the back door for the touchdown.
I was going to say, the angle we were at in the press box, you could see that whole play open up, and I mean, you could have probably driven one of your the team buses through it, and Bobby Boyd just, once he has that little bit of space, you're not going to catch him.
I tell you, it was just good execution by the whole offense, and that defense. That's what that defense does to you. You get a guy to make a breakdown here, you get a guy to make a mistake here. We gave up a sack earlier in the game because we had a protection breakdown, but that's what that defense does. You put so much stress on you. I didn't think Davis played well early because of the defense. It's just stressful. He had 1 interception, and I promise you he'd love to have it back because he knows he shouldn't have done it. But that's, give Seton Hill credit. But I thought our defense really hung in there and played well and gave us an opportunity to win that game.
Well, that's enough talking about it. Let's take a look back at the highlights from this past weekend's action. And after the break, we'll break down this upcoming week's opponent, the Slippery Rock Rock. You're watching the Gary Dunn Show right here on CUTV.
Kalechi now in motion across the formation. Handoff to Boyd. Boyd up the middle, untouched for the Vulcan touchdown. California strikes first. The 2-yard rush by Boyd. Has some time stepping up now, airing it deep down the far side. Pass is intercepted by the Griffins. Cruz looking to his right, has a man in the back of the end zone. That pass, easy as you'd like, a touchdown that time. Todd Phillips pulls in the reception. Black takes the snap, has some time. Black needs to get rid of it here. 5 seconds, Black has a man in the pass, is caught for the touchdown. Eric Willis. Cruz hands it off again. Williams breaks a tackle, and that's Crackett into the end zone for the Griffin touchdown. Black hit as he's thrown, but he's airing it deep down the field. Has a man pulled in by Willis, and Willis is off to the races, and Willis will make his way into the end zone for the Vulcan touchdown. Who needs long drives? 1 play is all it takes, and Eric Willis III goes 75 yards for the Vulcan touchdown. Quickly to the line, Cruz, handoff to Craigett again, and Craigett spins into the end zone for the Griffin touchdown. Boyd able to break free, and Boyd bouncing it to the outside, and Bobby Boyd into the end zone for the Vulcan touchdown. Unfiltered, untouched, 23 yards into the end zone for the Vulcan touchdown.
Vulcan football is back and ready to take on the best the PSAC has to offer this fall. After road games at Charleston, Westchester, and Lock Haven, the Vulcans return to Adamson Stadium for the home opener on September 28th. Save the date for October 19th and homecoming versus Slippery Rock. The Coal Bowl comes to Adamson Stadium on October 26th versus IUP. The home schedule concludes with back-to-back games on November 9th versus Edinboro and Senior Day November 16th versus Shippensburg. For up-to-date information on the Vulcans, follow Cal Vulcans on social media or go to calvulcans.com. For live games and highlights, go to CUTV Sports 1 on YouTube or the PSAC Digital Network.
And welcome back to the Gary Dunn Show. And right before the break, we finished up everything with Seton Hill. And Coach, last road game officially on the schedule. So, I mean, are you going to have the buses there just so everyone feels good? Maybe have them in the parking lot just so you have that little comfort?
I'll tell you, I'm extremely proud of our guys. You know, in college football, when you play 5 of your first 6 games on the road, that's a lot to ask. And, you know, I would venture to say we may be the only team in the country that played 5 of 6 on the road. I would like maybe one of the guys back there can do a fact check on me, but you know, the way our guys have battled, the way they've handled the travel, the way they've been detailed is a testament to our guys, because it's not easy to play 5 of 6 on the road. So extremely excited to be at home this weekend.
And home for the rest of the season. But we'll talk about that in a second. But let's take a second and put a bow on this past week's action in the PSAC. The scoreboard first, of course, California 28, Seton Hill 21. Kutztown beating Lock Haven 24-0. Westchester in a little bit of an upset over Shepherd, 35-14. Shippensburg over Millersville 35-27. Slippery Rock over Gannon on Slippery Rock's homecoming 35-17. Edinburgh beating IUP in a late second game action 27-23, and East Stroudsburg defeating Bloomsburg 31-30. And Coach, now we have to kind of take a look at the standings. In the PSAC West, we're at that time of the year, Cal and Slippery Rock 3-0. We're going to break that down. And then over in the East, Kutztown's 3-0, and then East Stroudsburg and Shepherd are 2-1, along with Westchester 2-1. So as every year happens, everything gets close towards this time of year, top of the standings. We're getting to that time of year where everything's important all the time, but you know, every game is magnified. This upcoming week's game magnified 1,000,000%. It's the game on the schedule. It's Slippery Rock. We know they're explosive on both sides of the ball, but I know you've broken down some film. So let's talk about their offense first. What do they do on that side of the ball?
Really good. You know, I think it all starts with their quarterback. He was a Harlan Hill finalist last year. Doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Gets rid of the football on time. Is very, very accurate. Doesn't turn the ball over. Kind of does a really good job of leading them and being the guy. They've got 2 really, really talented, explosive running backs. Probably different than the running backs we've seen the last couple of weeks. They're more of scat, fast. They'll run with power, but they're not as big as the kid from Seton Hill last week. And then they got some receivers that can flat go. Number 4, their slot receiver is probably one of the fastest kids in the league. They try and get you in space and get him one-on-one matchups. And you know, he's had some really, really big plays. I think he took 184 against IUP and was untouched. So we've got to leverage him and play. We've got to play sound team defense because they're good at every spot. There's no weaknesses. So it's got to be good, sound team defense. We've got to run to the football, and we've got to eliminate our mental mistakes. I think that's going to be the key today when I talk to the team is okay, look at these plays we gave up from Seton Hill, and look why we gave them up. You know, we've got to tackle. They're good when they get you in space, and if you miss tackles, they got guys that can go the distance.
Well, let's take a look at the other side of the ball. We know defensively, you know, if you're undefeated at this point of the year, you've got a solid defense. But scheme-wise, what do they do?
Giving up 16 points a game. Really good up front. They've got a really good front 4. They got a transfer defensive end that's a really good pass rusher. They've got probably the premier defensive tackle in the league. Their linebackers can run, and then on the back end they play man coverage, and they basically say, okay, this is how we're going to line up. They will sprinkle in some zone, but predominantly man coverage. But they're really good up front, so we're going to have to be sound up front. We're going to have to be physical up front because everything starts with their D-line.
We talked a little bit a few weeks ago about your scout team, but how important is scout team this week, knowing you're going against a team, you know, they're number 6 in the country, probably going to go up a little bit, but you know they're good. But how important is it for the scout team to be able to prepare your ones on both sides of the ball?
Really happy with the way those guys are working and battling and enjoying football. You know, it's hard to show up to work every day. You know, I said this last year, not get a paycheck because they don't get to play a lot on Saturdays or at all, but they show up to work every day. So that'll be a big part, and we've got to have a great week of preparation. But you know, the thing about it is this is the next game on the schedule, and we're not going to make it any bigger than it is. It's just as important as the last one and just as important as the next one. We just got to go play football.
A 1-game schedule, and it's pretty much a one-game schedule from here on out. I would guess the whole season is a one-game schedule.
One game.
But also this week is homecoming, so we come home, and it's a true homecoming since we've been on the road. So
Yeah.
I'll run down the schedule, and I'll give you a second to think about your favorite homecoming memory as a player and a coach. But you got a few seconds. We'll run down the schedule here in the PSAC West and the PSAC East, all the PSAC. Of course, California Slippery Rock, that's 3 o'clock at Adamson Stadium. Millersville and Shepherd at noon. Edinburgh, Clarion at noon. Kutztown and Shippensburg at 1. Seton Hill and IEP at 2 o'clock. Lock Haven and Bloomsburg at 6. And then Westchester and East Stroudsburg at 6:05. And for some reason you can't be there, CUTV will have you covered on CUTV Sports 1 and the PSAC Digital Network. But, Coach, as I said, former player, longtime coach here. What's a memory you can tell on camera from either your playing day or your coaching day about homecoming?
Unfortunately, I don't remember a lot from my playing days. That was so long ago. It's just the alumni coming back, and I've really enjoyed being back at California and having the alumni back, especially the guys, all the alumni, but the guys that I played with come back for homecoming. You've got Jerry Schneider, who was a career military guy that you hadn't seen in years, that's now back involved in our program. Scott Aquilina comes from New York every year. Jason LaMartina has been up here the last couple of years from Florida. Just to get the alumni back is really special, especially guys that I played with. Now, we are honoring the 84 team. This is the 40th anniversary of the 84 championship team. That's why I wore the throwback.
I was going to say,
throwback script. Cal, we've got a function planned for them over the weekend, and excited. I know a lot of those guys. Some of them I haven't met yet, so excited to meet those guys. I think we're going to have a great crowd at Adamson. I know Slippery Rock always travels well, but to honor the 84 team, Coach Petrucci, who was my college coach, will be back. So I invited him to practice. So any alumni that are out there watching, we're going to practice at 4 o'clock on Friday. You're more than welcome to come watch practice. We've got some events planned for the 84 team. So really just excited about homecoming, but it's about the alumni coming back, and I love that they're involved with our program. Our alumni gives us tremendous support from, the night before the spring game, we always have a reunion, to our touchdown club, to our golf outing. You talk about the best alumni in the PSAC, man. Every time I call those guys, they show up for us. And I think it's special for me being a former player. I know I've coached at some other places, and you didn't feel affiliated with the alumni. You were always around them, and but to be an alumni myself, to welcome all these guys back. We had two of the great tight ends in Cal U history were at Seton Hill. Michael DiMichela and Terry O'Shea were at Seton Hill. Scott Munchinski, a guy that I played, was an offensive tackle. We came in together, was at Seton Hill. So just to have the alumni support's phenomenal, and I can't thank those guys enough.
Well, that's a good point about the support on the road, because obviously homecoming people are coming back, but this is week after week, you say, and on the road. I mean, we joke about a little bit, when you're across the state, who's coming in, but that's a sign of a good program, and just the fact that people love coming back and being attached.
Yeah, and like I said, me being an alumni, it probably means a little more to me. But I think we're gonna have a great crowd. A lot of my guys have already reached out and are coming. The 84 team, we're gonna have most of those guys back. We'll have guys from the 50s, 60s, 70s. It's going to be a special day at Adamson Stadium. I'm looking forward to it.
So make sure you go to the parade early and then come up and tailgate. With the amount of you might have 4 or 5 tents. I know your tent is the football tent, and everything's always bumping. Might have 2 or 3 tents.
Yeah.
So
there's B Graphics is sponsoring a tailgate up there this weekend, which is nice of them to do. We need the students though. That's when you talk about homecoming, and it's really for the alumni and the students. It's a great week to celebrate the Vulcans, but it's also come out and support us, come up and tailgate. I know the fraternities and sororities will be there. I know the other sports teams that aren't on the road are going to be there. So it's going to be a good day, and we've got to show up and play a good football game.
And let's make it a special day for Vulcan Nation. 3 o'clock Saturday at Adamson Stadium, homecoming versus Slippery Rock. That's all there's left to say for homecoming week. For Coach Dunn, I'm Gary Smith. You're watching the Gary Dunn Show right here on CUTV.